I think incompetent is the right word to use for Steve Sarkisian at the end of this game. He is a guy that's going to have to face the noise for the decisions that he made, including putting a one-armed player in position to receive kicks. In what universe does that make any sense? That is almost as bad as doing a live shot of Bourbon Street on ESPN and thinking that's going to go well. That is in the same category with throwing a guy who's got one hand, one arm, and saying, buddy can catch punts. Yeah, he can catch kickoff. What do you? It's something that small that's really not small. It's actually pretty big. Then as the game goes on, I'm thinking, all right, clock management standpoint, maybe Sark is he's playing a conservative there late, and we don't want to take too many timeouts yet. Let's see how this thing plays out. And in the end, you have an opportunity. They had an opportunity to go win the game, but I didn't love the clock management. All right, you give them a free pass there, right? At what point are we going to change the secondary? Put me at secondary. Put somebody else. Put Jaden Blue in the secondary. Put somebody else in the nation's worst secondary, the Power Five's worst secondary. Then a Washington secondary that's not very good. You have opportunities late in the game to go score. And guess what? Did you know? Steve Sarkisian, this genius, this mastermind, the guy who's got it, he's refound it. ESPN was mentioning his alcoholism, which was nuts. To me, it's a beautiful story about how he came from a dark place. I'm not sure if they should have mentioned it when they did. He came from a dark place and has built something at Texas. I can't deny you that. I can't take that away from Texas. You made the college football playoff. But then, when the moment was the biggest, those last two drives, Texas got 3 points on 15 red zone plays. Think about the Burt Auburn field goal there with about a minute to go, a little over a minute to go, minute 5. That was a series in which Texas couldn't find the end zone. Then you get another opportunity where Quinn Ewers throws a couple of balls away. And you got a chance, this genius, this mastermind, to draw up something. You got 4 plays, buddy, inside the 15-yard line. And the first thing you do is drop it off to a halfback who loses a yard. From there, I was pretty confident this might not go well. And then we let Quinn Ewers start throwing footballs into the stands. Is that the genius that is Steve Sarkisian? Is that the guy that we were all supposed to fear? The same guy that took a while to rebuild Texas and got him back to a good spot? Is that what's going to fly in the SEC? The same Texas team that played at Alabama is pretty much the same team you just saw. The difference to me was Sark choked it away. He wasn't nails at the end. The emotional reactions that he brought to the game too at times were like, oh, dude. Or at the very end, it's like, is he okay? Like, you see in his eyes when the camera panned to him. They had a really good, great. They had like a crotch shot. If you're watching the game, they just zoomed in on his crotch and then right back out to his eyes. And he seemed like he didn't know where he was. Like he was frazzled out of his mind. And you saw that in the play calling with 8 opportunities to go score a touchdown inside of 2 minutes to go in this ball game. And they didn't do it. Not only that, once again, you could tell Quinn Ewers was not on against a porous Washington secondary. That guy was throwing a ball to anywhere that wasn't his wide receivers, and Sark said, you know what, let's keep on doing it. I know running the ball is working, but running the ball is not as fun as throwing the ball, so let's throw the football. Texas was, and look, Texas was not perfect, obviously. The turnovers were bad. Washington, giving the ball away to Washington, fumbling the ball away to Washington was not good. I'm stunned, right, that Washington played so crisp and Texas just didn't. I know that Washington had that fumble as well, but the way that Texas just losing the football, 4 fumbles, 2 of those lost, not good. And maybe that's why you keep the ball out of your running back's hands. But to me, when running the ball was working, look, 28 carries for 180 yards. My brother in Christ, here's what you bring to your water cooler tomorrow. When someone says, I feel like Sark called a good game. Washington just got lucky in the end. Here's what you say. Texas was rushing for 6.4 yards per carry. Please bring that to work tomorrow. If you wake up in time. 6.4 yards per carry. And just ran the ball 28 times. No single player ran the ball more than 9 times. CJ Baxter 9, Jaden Blue 9. That is why I use the word incompetence. You put the ball in the hands of a kid who went 24 for 43 and didn't have it. They're panning the camera to Arch Manning, which they didn't do in the Bama game because Quinn Ewers looked so bad in this. Running the football was working, and you stopped. you freaked out. You got down by double digits. You got down by 2 possessions, and you stopped doing what was working. Steve Sarkisian blinked. And the apex, the mecca, the biggest moment of that was putting a guy back there with one hand to catch punts. I get it. I'm sure he's a hell of a kid and a great locker room piece. But you don't trot that kid out there to catch punts. And the muff punts, the dropped kicks, the dropped kickoffs were amplified by the cast on the kid's arm. In what world does any of that make sense? To me, Steve Sarkisian lost this game when he needed to make the right call, to make the nails hard hitting. Here's what we're going to do. I'm calm. I'm confident. He didn't. And then his players are on the sideline with Matthew McConaughey. And look, I know I'm being nitpicky with that, but why is this actor just on the bench, just hanging out on the bench, talking to 3 players in the middle of a game with a 2-minute drill, 2 minutes to go? Jaden Blue just scored or just had a big catch. And that's the guy who's firing your team up. There was a lack of control of this game in general from Sark at the very end, and that is what gifted Washington a win that they controlled. Because once again, Washington played Texas the way that Texas played Alabama.